What's up, Taiwan? I'm Ethan Liu with news from here in Taiwan and around the world. Fans of Taiwan's national team were treated to quite a spectacle as the country's Olympic athletes paraded through Taipei. Our reporter Cindy Chi was there.
From the Arc de Triomphe to a triumph through Taipei, Taiwan's Olympians marched through Taiwan's capital on Friday, celebrating their performance at the Paris Summer Games. The national team, competing under the name Chinese Taipei, bagged a total of 7 medals this year, 2 gold and 5 bronze. To honor their achievements, Taiwan's presidential office held this party and parade. Athletes and their coaches, and for the first time, some of their family members were all invited. They met Taiwan's President Lai Ching-te at the presidential office building before kicking off the event.
要感谢全体的奥运英雄，在整个过程当中，你们展现你们的无畏的勇气。更难得的是，要经过日以夜继、千辛万苦的训练，才有办法站上奥运的殿堂。你们那种拼劲精神，不管有没有得奖，每一个都是台湾之光，每一个都是国家英雄。感谢你们。
After meeting the president, they took to the streets. Led by a police motorcade and several marching bands, they marched from the presidential office along Taipei's major roads.
I'm here at Hero Valley, the section of the parade, with athletes behind me going down the streets to greet their fans. And our organizers have handed out thousands of these flags for the public to get into the spirit at the event. And as you can feel beside me, the atmosphere is going wild. People are excited about their athletes and cheering for them.
Fans poured out of their offices to take time out of the day to express their support for their favorite athletes.
最想看应该还是林雨婷吧，我觉得就是她最近就是遭遇了那些风波，可是她还是怎么讲很坚强、很坚毅，然后可以顶住那些压力去跟对手对战。
妹妹，你今天来这边看谁跟为什么？王麒麟，因为他可以杀球，又高又帅。
那其他的人呢？很多人也很高很帅啊。
比不上王麒麟。
The parade proved to be quite an experience for the athletes as well. Taekwondo star Luo Jialing spoke after the parade.
很开心今天能够有这个机会参与选手游行的这个活动，然后也很开心可以在路边看到很多观众朋友们，然后很多粉丝朋友们，这是在路边为我们加油鼓励，那我们都可以看到大家，然后跟大家一起共襄盛举，都非常的开心。
For many of Taiwan's athletes, this parade concludes this year's Summer Games. 8 walked away with medals, to ending this chapter in Taiwanese sport on a high note. With the next Summer Games, Los Angeles 2028, just 4 years away, Team Taiwan will now get ready and head to Hollywood. Patrick Chen and Sandy Chi for TaiwanPlus.
Rare images of one of Taiwan's new military drones are showing how the country is investing in unmanned vehicles as it deals with threats from China. It's part of Taiwan's plan to build a drone fleet, taking inspiration from weapons used in the Ukraine war. Jaime Okan reports.
In a promotional video, Taiwan's military reveals one of its newest approaches to warfare. Strapping explosives to a drone, flying it through an obstacle course until it finds and hits its target. These unmanned aircraft, known as kamikaze or suicide drones, are still under development, but are a key part of efforts to modernize Taiwan's defense strategy.
I think it's exciting that we're seeing real progress in Taiwan embracing the uncrewed system revolution and really seeing some purchases and development of smaller drones like quadcopters. And I think that's a very positive step when we're talking about Taiwan developing an asymmetric strategy to deter and, if necessary, defend the island.
Taiwan is under threat from China, and it's been trying to find ways to boost its defense, as Beijing has a much larger military. One strategy is to shift away from older, more traditional systems like tanks and fighter jets, instead investing in asymmetric capabilities like drones. Drones like this quadcopter cost roughly $1,000, much cheaper than a fighter jet, which go for millions of dollars. Given the threat Taiwan faces, analysts say the country will need to incorporate both kinds of systems into its overall approach.
因为我们之前有解释过 asymmetric 这个 strategy 跟这个 conventional strategy 其实它是一个 mix 混合的哦。那在台湾来讲，目前当然是这是 more priority 更优先，也就是参考乌克兰成功的经验，它用很 low cost 或 low budget 去改装。
Taiwan has been looking closely at how Ukraine is using drones in its efforts to push back against Russia's invasion. There are now plans to build what the Defense Ministry calls a drone fleet, taking commercially available drones and upgrading them to a military standard.
What's cool about this capability set in particular, and again, sort of what we've seen in the Ukraine case as well, is these systems are all super easy to operate. I think for Taiwan, it's a good strategy because at the end of the day, this is about flooding the zone. It's about using large numbers of small things that will really help, punch China where they're the most vulnerable.
Taiwan is getting ready to conduct its first live-fire test of newly produced kamikaze drones on Monday. If all goes well, mass production could begin in 2025, getting Taiwan's forces better prepared to deal with threats from across the Taiwan Strait. Andy Shui and Jaime Okan for TaiwanPlus.
The new 4-year National Development Plan passed by Taiwan's cabinet has laid out ambitious economic targets for the country. The plan aims to achieve an average economic growth rate of 3.6%. It also aspires to raise Taiwan's per capita GDP to over $40,000 a year, with a focus on surpassing that of Japan, South Korea, and eventually Israel. It hopes to achieve this by boosting the value of Taiwan's AI and chip sectors in the coming years. Anti-smoking groups are criticizing the government for allegedly flip-flopping on its resolution to ban flavored tobacco. The legislature reached a nonpartisan consensus last year to ban all flavorings, but the health ministry recently changed its language, saying it will prohibit 27 additives on top of the 4 already banned. Citizen groups are protesting the amendment and accusing the government of watering down its own policy. The health ministry says it's open to feedback and that the policy is in line with regulations in the U.S. and European Union. An employee at a Taipei kindergarten has been found guilty on more than 200 counts of sexually abusing children. As Chris Gorin reports, the case has sent shockwaves through Taiwan's education system.
Mao Junsheng, a former employee at a Taipei kindergarten, arrives at court. Not long after, he was found guilty of more than 200 counts of sexually assaulting and secretly filming children. All 6 victims were under 7 years old. Due to concurrent sentencing, he will effectively serve 28 years in prison.
今天这个结果家属这边可以接受的。我可能还要再跟他们报告一下。
Many of the crimes took place at Mao's workplace, a Taipei preschool and kindergarten owned by his mother. On the administrative side, several officials in the city government have been reprimanded for not catching the case sooner or handling it poorly. And they have established a new unit to publicize any unqualified personnel in schools.
幼儿园如果涉及性别或不当对待事件，经过我们的认定委员会认定它是终身或者是1到4年不可以聘用、任用或禁用。
Child safety groups say that better communication is needed to prevent abuse cases like this from falling through the cracks.
案件的来源有时候是来自于警政、社政跟教育体系，但是呢，我们可以看到这3方的横向连接是缺乏的，整个网络的一个串联的历程当中，就会产生漏接的一个状况。
As Taiwan works to better protect its children, officials are hoping that these new measures can at least bring such cases to light a little sooner. Joseph Wu and Chris Gorin for TaiwanPlus.
The opposition Taiwan People's Party and its leader, former presidential candidate Ko Wen-je, have been rocked by a corruption scandal this week. The party stands accused of falsely reporting accounts valuing hundreds of thousands of US dollars. It's a setback for the TPP since it shook up Taiwanese politics in January's elections. To learn more, Edmund spoke to political analyst Courtney Donovan-Smith.
Ko-wen-je and his Taiwan People's Party have had a very difficult week. Can you tell us a little bit about this latest scandal?
This whole thing broke, and this is two, I guess you could say, influencers. And the two of them did some investigating into the TPP's finances, and then the TPP had to hold a press conference admitting there were irregularities in 17 entries for over 18 million NT. So big questions about, these irregularities. Now, the party claimed that these were accounting errors. And then at the same time, more details start coming out. So, for example, lunchboxes costing 900 and some odd thousand spent on tissues, 400 and some odd thousand spent at one campaign rally in Tainan.
Ke has tried to build his brand based on efficient governance and clean governance. Do you think these scandals are something that he can possibly recover from, or is it going to be too much?
It really looks very bad that, An Gao, his vice mayor, the companies that he handed all of his marketing to, all these people around him that he presumably chose are being investigated for corruption. Now, if they're found guilty, that will be a pretty serious blow to people's perception of his abilities to run anything, really. But if this goes up the chain and he becomes embroiled in it, then definitely his career is finished. Now, I don't know if he can bounce back even from just surrounding himself by corrupt people. I don't know. Again, we're going to have to see how this plays out.
Ke and the TPP surprised a lot of people with their strong performance in January's elections, getting 20% of the vote countrywide. Where do you think those supporters are going to go now if they decide that they don't want to keep supporting Ke and the TPP?
And I think that the third part of your question is probably what's going to happen with a lot of these people. A lot of them are going to go back to being independents who may lean one way or lean another. I think that ultimately, the kind of people who supported the TPP, I think ultimately are looking for a third party. And if a viable new third party were to appear, I think that they might go toward that. But I think that really there is a hunger out there among a certain percentage of the voting public for something that is not the DPP and something that is not the KMT.
That was political analyst Courtney Donovan-Smith. A petition to recall Keelung's mayor is moving ahead after successfully gaining enough signatures. The Central Election Commission made the announcement on Friday, setting a vote date for October 13th. Keelung residents delivered their petition to recall George Xie in June. It follows months of political standoff in Keelung after the city council questioned Xie about allegations of abuse of power, a real estate deal, and broken campaign promises. Keelung is marking its annual Midsummer Ghost Festival with lantern displays and fireworks. The city is celebrating the 170th anniversary of the festival. It's held every year on the first day of the 7th lunar month, and it's a time for people to honor their ancestors. The Northern City celebrations are some of Taiwan's most famous for the date.
大家共同都到基隆来，可以在这个中元祭的前后看看、逛逛、走走，当作来基隆观光，当作是一个中元祭在全台湾必做的一个活动。
Thank you for watching What's Up Taiwan. You can visit the TaiwanPlus website and follow our social media for more stories from Taiwan and around the world. Finally, we take you down the rabbit hole as a new exhibition transforms the New York Botanical Garden into a world based on Alice's adventures in Wonderland. I'm Ethan Liu. Take care, and I'll see you next time.